So I just left the theater having gone to see The Strangers Chapter 2, and I gotta say, I'm starting to fit in more and more with the group that wonders why on earth this is still happening. Now, if you're subscribed to my main channel, then you know there was quite a lot I found wrong with the first movie, with one of the bigger mistakes being keeping the story going past the first movie, but here we are. And after seeing what Chapter 2 had to offer, I'm just not sure what the filmmakers' goals were with this one, which sounds weird as hell to say, but I'm just being honest. Once again, the film was fairly logistically sound, but the flashbacks take you out of the main story a bit. And I've seen critics say that the flashbacks slowed down the pace of the film, but I disagree, as one of the things that definitely goes in the plus column as this film is concerned was how fast the film plays. I thought the characters' response to their particular circumstances was where I found the film at its most nonsensical, if I'm truly being honest. Now, the film did fit fairly neatly into 3 acts, but I thought the screenwriters made a big narrative mistake in Act 2 involving an animal, and I'll just leave it at that for now. I thought Madeline Page was a serviceable final girl here, and her going this one solo surprisingly helped the film in its flow. I thought what little dialogue there was to be had in this film was just fine, but the dialogue was never going to be a make or break issue for a film of this nature, so I can't exactly give the writers extra credit on that front. I thought the screenwriters got a little too complex with the misdirection in this film, because you just leave the theater more confused than you were when you came in, and that confusion raises to a fever pitch with the pseudo-unmasking of one of the strangers and the actual unmasking of another, to the point where you have to sit back and just ask yourself why in God's name this story is still going, and why the writers made the narrative choice they did as it pertains to the unmasking of said strangers, before the film's trilogy is done. Now, overall, I'd give this film a 60%, or a 6.0 if you're thinking IMDb score, a D for a letter grade. Look, despite how the first film went, this film actually had a chance. But the writers crammed it with unnecessary ingredients to the point of confusing the hell out of the issue at hand. And while I can understand that they probably had a mandate to get the film to 90 minutes, just as they did the first one, and that might be a big part of the problem, but that just brings up 2 much bigger problems. One being that the first film is essentially a Xerox copy of the original Strangers film, in which case we probably could have done without it altogether. And the second being that even if you can make room for the first film's existence, that this story should be over by now. Now, this film will do the trick if you're simply in the mood for an anxiety-ridden 90-minute chase film. But if I'm being completely honest, it's not much good for much more than that.